What are the best farming strategies in Clash of Clans, you ask? This video will provide you with the top 5 armies so that you can start upgrading your base faster. Now, I will be providing you with armies you can use no matter what your town hall level and also no matter what type of farming you want to use, so let's dive straight into it. Welcome back to the channel then, guys. I'm your host, Judo Sloth. I recently brought you a video describing how to find the best farming league for your town hall level. Now, in that video, I did tell you I would bring you the best farming strategies that there are, because I like to bring educational but entertaining Clash of Clans videos. So if that's the type of content you want to see, I would recommend subscribing and also turning on the notification bell. Remember, you can help to support your favorite creator in Clash of Clans before making any purchases. My code is Judo and it is much appreciated, my friends. Also, guys, before we get too far into today's video, I want to thank Supercell for providing me with a giveaway code for the Lost and Crowned storybook. If any of you missed the animated episode, I will have it linked in the description, but I will be running this giveaway over on my Twitter page alongside a couple of other giveaways I have planned, so be sure to follow me over there. The link for that is in the description, and the contest will be posted in the coming days. Good luck. I sometimes get asked, what exactly is farming? Well, there are different types of farming. I went into a little bit of the mechanics and the loot penalty in my video where I gave you the best league. That was for very cheap, quick, efficient farming strategies. I'd recommend watching that video at the end of this one. I will have it linked. However, keeping it simple, farming is stealing more resources than it costs you to cook up the army. But there's different efficiencies of armies, and that's what we're covering in this video. Sometimes you want to take a heavy army and punch into the base. Sometimes you take a cheap army and farm a lot of little resources, but very quickly over time. It can depend on the type of resource you want, your level, your playstyle, but let's give you the top 5. The 5th best farming strategy, in my opinion, is the Goblins. Now, there's clear limitations to this. There's better attack strategies, which we are obviously moving up to, but there's different variations of the Goblins. The mass Goblin attack can be very useful from low town hall levels right of the way up for collector style raiding. Remember, we explained in a previous video that collectors, that is the mines and pumps on the outside of the base, you can take 50% of resources from. However, the gold storages and elixir storages, you can only take 20% or less. So since the Goblins do 2 times get damage against resource buildings, it means they can be incredibly effective for collector style raiding if you just want to take the mines and pumps on the outside. There's not a lot to tell you about the mass goblin variation. You are sprinkling the goblins in towards the mines and pumps on the outside. When I say sprinkling, this is to try and make sure the goblins aren't in too big of a group, so wizard towers, mortars cannot do major damage to the goblins. The great thing about the mass goblins is it's one of those cheap, quick farming armies. You don't have to send in your whole army. You just send in the minimum amount of goblins to get the maximum amount of return. And what that means is you can do a lot of raids back to back, and even if you don't get all of the loot for every single base, you are trying to stack up the amount of loot over time, which is where the cheap farming armies differ from the heavier armies which we will be getting to. If you are a higher level player, you're going to be particularly active with your farming, you might decide to unlock the Sneaky Goblin Super Troop. This is because they are incredible due to their immunity. If you can deploy them directly onto a storage, just 2 Sneaky Goblins will take it down no matter how many defenses are in an area. That being said, just 1 Sneaky Goblin is required to take out any collector. However, this is due to its invincibility. If you cannot directly target it, you might have to send more in because part of the immunity is being used for the Goblin's travel time. With a housing space of 3, that means just 3 Goblins to take down any collector and 6 to take down any storage is very efficient. It also means pushing them into the base can be efficient as well, particularly towards a storage or the town hall if you've carved out the other resource buildings. Also, when farming with goblins, be on the lookout for holes within the base. Whilst the regular goblins can take advantage of this, the sneaky goblins are even better. Since they have the immunity for a set period of time, you can often get in, take storages, the clan castle, the town hall very easily, and it's not like you even need your grand Grand Warden's ability to make them immune in that area. The Goblin Knife is a dark elixir farming strategy. You use the goblins to thin out resource buildings within an area, and then when you have a jump spell active, you can send the rest of your goblins into the center so they can take down the dark elixir storage and often even the town hall. Now you will use a rage spell right in the center so the goblins get the dark elixir storage. If you have the Grand Warden's ability, you will probably use his ability in this area as well. If there's any wizard towers on the outside, you might be able to distract them with other troops, use freeze spells, or if you're using sneaky goblins, they can move right on through with their invincibility. Number 4, I went with the Barch or the GiBarch farming strategy. Now when we get to teaching you the GiBarch, you will see this is a higher town hall level farming strategy, often used for dark elixir, and I personally used this throughout my town hall 9 and 10 experience. However, for the Barch strategy, let's tell you everything you need to know. I would recommend this for you if you are starting the game right of the way up to town hall 9 as your primary farming strategy. You probably want to supplement it for town hall 7 and 8 with the next strategy I will be giving you for number 3, but we get ahead of ourselves. The Barch strategy, I would start off by deploying archers to the edge of the base. See if you can pick off any buildings that are out of range of defenses. This does a couple of things. It allows you to potentially get a 1-to-1 trade, which is incredibly efficient, but it means you can focus the fire of the Barch, the barbarians and archers, onto the buildings when you do deploy them. So let's explain the premise of the attack. The barbarians have higher hit points. Deploy them first in a line to absorb fire from the defenses. Deploy the archers behind. The archers are a ranged troop, so they will stand behind the barbarians and shoot over. And this is the brilliant thing. It means they can shoot over walls. Keep an eye on your barbarians that are tanking. As they start to take damage, you will have to deploy more of them to walk in front of the archers to continue to tank for them. That is because they have higher hit points. If the defenses lock onto your archers, they will go down incredibly quick. Now this is where the main advantage of the Barch lies over the Goblin strategy and why I placed it ahead in the list. You can also take storages on the inside of the base since the archers are a ranged troop. Again, it's a quick, cheap farming army, primarily for loot on the outside of the base, but does offer you the ability for the storages. Whilst the win is not everything, with farming it's all about the loot, the Barch does offer you a better chance of winning as well, meaning if you are farming at a set trophy range, it can be easier to maintain that than the Goblin strategy. A higher level version of the Barch strategy is the GiBarch. This is when you use giants initially to tank the defenses a little bit better than the barbarians. They can deal with the splash. You then send in your line of barbarians and archers. I like to send them from one side of the base so they swoop straight through, and I also like to mix in some wizards since you have the giants. Now you do want a strong push of barbarians and archers into the center alongside your heroes if you have them, and you want to try and take 2 jump spells to get through. I tend to take a heal spell to use early and a rage in the middle because you're trying to get into the storages. Dark elixir is one of the main resources you can take with this strategy. Now the beauty of the GiBarch is you've probably already leveled up your barbarians and archers, and if there are collectors on the outside, you can save some of the barbarians and archers to easily take those out, which means if you come up against a hybrid style base where the loot is split between the storages and the collectors, you still got a good chance of getting into the base to take the storages and take the collectors on the outside. The third best farming attack on my list goes to the Loonion. This is very popular because it can get into the center, make sure you get the storages, and quite often ensure you get all of the loot. Now it is a more expensive farming army and you don't really need that expensive of an army until I would recommend Town Hall Hall 9 when you're trying to grind the Dark Elixir for your Archer Queen, although you could use this a little bit earlier as well. It's very simplistic, much like many of the other farming strategies. Deploy a line of balloons, followed by a line of minions. The balloons push forward, take out the defenses for the minions to clear the rest. Now, I would recommend taking 4 rage spells. You can take haste spells, but because this strategy is primarily used for Dark Elixir, the rage spells mean that you're not spending Dark Elixir getting your army prepared, and also the rage can benefit the minions. Just in case there's any defenses left, the minions can help to get the storages in the center. So as the balloons push forward, they clear the center for the minions to take the Dark Elixir storage and the Town Hall. I would actually use your spells early on. 2 when the balloons first enter the base, and 2 over the center, although try not to overlap them. If you're fortunate, which you will get in a lot of situations, your balloons will make it to the far end of the base alongside the minions, who might actually get the storages on that side as well. If you come up against a good designed base, the storages will be spread, so you might not get all of them. You want to push into the center to get a good chunk of storages, the Dark Elixir and the Town Hall in the center. You might miss the back end ones, but you could get it with this strategy as well. If your heroes are upgrading, this strategy can still work, and it's why it's number 3 on my list. But if you do have your heroes, I'd probably recommend just using them on the side to help funnel the minions into the center. The number 2 attack strategy is the Queen Charge into Miners. Now, this is a higher level attack. You have to be at least Town Hall 10, although the number 1 strategy you don't have to be. However, I would argue that the Queen Charge Miners I would only do as a Town Hall 12 or 13. I think for Town Hall 10 and 11, there's actually better options, but it's not like you have to stick with one strategy. That's the beauty of this video, you can mix and match. However, for the Queen Charge into Miners, it is a Dark Elixir farming strategy primarily, and you don't have to use Dark Elixir to cook anything up, unless you use a couple of freeze spells like me, which means you're maximizing your profit. Remember, it is the cost it takes you to cook an army versus the profit you are getting. That's the basic premise of farming. The major benefit, though, of the Queen Charge Miners is you get to practice war attacks. This is an incredibly viable 3-star strategy. The hybrid attack works exactly the same, and the Queen Charge in itself, you're getting to practice. So it means that not only are you farming, you're practicing for war, which is incredibly important. Not a lot of the other farming strategies let you do this. Now, the Miners for Town Hall 12 and 13, where I recommend this strategy, can get under the Gigabomb. You don't even need the Grand Warden's ability. And it means that you are strong enough to get into the center, get the Dark Elixir, and even get the 3-star attack, meaning you get all of the loot. Even if you don't get all of the loot, you know you are going to be strong enough to get into the center to get a good proportion of it, whilst practicing your war attacks. What could be better? Well, there is a downside to the Miners. It takes a long time to cook up, which means if you are going to be super active, you might want to go for a better strategy, a different one. Not necessarily better, because it's all comes down to your situation and what you are farming. But if you can only get online, let's say once an hour, and your troops are going to be cooked up within that time, you might want to choose a heavier army, such as the Queen Charge Miners, to ensure that when you are doing that one attack, you are getting a big reward for doing so. The number 1, my best attack strategy that I would recommend you use is the mass baby dragons. Now, if you agree with me, disagree with me, you've got any other questions on Clash of Clans, you can always drop by my live streams on Twitch. The link for that is in the description, and let me know what you guys think. But the mass baby dragons allow you to get huge amounts of loot very easily. We mentioned how the gold mines, elixir pumps, Dark Elixir drills for that matter, allow you to get more percentage out of them than the storages, and you can pick off the mines and pumps on the outside very easily, often without using a huge proportion of your army. And what it means is, because the baby dragons have got a higher HP, they can actually withstand some of the defensive fire and even allow you to get into the storages a lot of the time as well. A wide variety of benefits straight away, but there's a few other things you should know about. If you can directly deploy the baby dragons onto the mines and pumps, you should do so. With their enraged bonus, they can take them down quickly. It often results in you not having to use many baby dragons to take down a huge majority of the loot. However, if they are air targeting defenses, you might want to target those first. It will allow the baby dragons to freely move around the resource buildings, but also it means that if there are collectors on the inside of the base, the baby dragons are strong enough that you can still take those down. The other thing that I like is that the army only consists of baby dragons. It's not like, let's say, the Barch strategy or the Loonion, where you have to keep a balance. Even if I use 5 baby dragons, my army will reload with baby dragons and I just have to cook up that one troop. I don't have to worry of maintaining a set balance between the troops. That means you can use only a proportion of your army, and that is one of the key benefits of the baby dragons. You can use them to clear pathways to particular buildings for your heroes. Remember, your heroes do have abilities. The Archer Queen and the Grand Warden often means that you can clear out a section, finish it off with your heroes, and mean that you are being even more efficient. If you're not actually going to be online for a set period of time, you might actually let your heroes go down because you know they will be back alive again when you go to return. The main downside of the mass baby dragons that I want to make sure you guys are aware of is that it's far easier to get gold and elixir rather than dark elixir, because it's so easy to take out the collectors on the outside. It's not impossible to get dark elixir. Often you get a huge amount from the drills and you can get into the storages, especially if you're using your heroes as well. But higher level Town Hall 12 and 13, you should be aware that you might have to mix in a different army. The Queen Charge Miners that I showed you for number 2. And it's not like you have to use the same army all of the time. I would encourage you to mix it up. Try and keep things fresh to enjoy the game. If you are using the cheaper armies, remember I did the video which showcased how you might want to pick the best league. If you missed it, I am going to link it for you right here alongside the subscribe button. But that wraps it up for this one, my friends. I hope you have enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.